Good afternoon to all of my colleagues. Today we are expressing our ideas on self-awareness. Topic is also self-awareness in house training program. I feel happiness to take part in house training. Our topic is self-awareness. Though the areas of dimensions are so large that it can take longer period of time, but somehow I would try my effort to bring out the ins and outs about self-awareness. At first step we take initial as points such as the following. Simply we understand the meaning of self-awareness, knowing one's own, and we take to deal with the topic self-awareness. What is self-awareness? In simple words, self-awareness is the ability to tune into your feelings, thoughts and actions. Being self-aware also means being able to recognize how other people see you. People who are self-aware recognize their strengths and their challenges. What is awareness and why is it important? Being aware will give you an insight into your beliefs and whether they are positive or holding you back. If you are aware, then this will give you knowledge, and if you have knowledge, then you know what you need to do and the direction you need to go to make changes to improve and be successful. Next step. Types of self-awareness. There are two types of self-awareness, private and public. Private self-awareness is when people are aware of something about themselves that others might not be, like being anxious about reading out loud. People's self-awareness is when people are aware of how others see them. Elements of self-awareness. Self-awareness stems from reflecting on three aspects of the self. I self. This answers the question, how do I see myself? Second, myself. This answers the question of how do others see me? Third, ideal self. This answers the question of how do I want others to see me? Private self-awareness example. For example, seeing your face in the mirror is a type of private self-awareness. Feeling your stomach lurch when you realize you forgot to study for an important or feeling you hurt, flutter when you see someone you are attracted to are also examples of private self-awareness. Public self-awareness example. Public self-awareness is a state which occurs when people focus on the impressions they make on others. For instance, when a person is in a state of public self-awareness, they worry about what others think of them and they seek social approval. What is private and public self-awareness? The private self-awareness is a moment of realization that only involves yourself. This could look like realizing you have feelings for someone when you return home from a date. Public self-awareness is the ability to understand how others perceive you and usually follows social norms. Self-awareness development and types, table of contents, emergence, development, levels, types, and self-consciousness. Self-consciousness involves being aware of different aspects of the self, including traits, behaviors, and feelings. Essentially, it is a psychological state in which oneself becomes the focus of attention. Self-awareness is one of the first components of the self-concept to emerge. While self-awareness is something that you are acutely focused on every moment of everybody. Instead, self-awareness becomes woven into the fabric of who you are and emerges at different points depending on the situation and your personality. People are not born completely self-aware, yet research has also found that infants do have a rudimentary sense of self-awareness. Infants possess the awareness that they are a separate being from others, which is evidenced by behaviors such as the rooting reflex, in which an infant searches for a nipple when something brushes against his or her face. Researchers have also found that even newborns are able to differentiate between self and non-self touch. Self-awareness emergence. Studies have demonstrated a more complex sense of the awareness of the self begins to emerge at around 1 year of age and becomes much more developed by approximately 18 months of age. Researchers Lewis and Brooks Gunn performed studies looking at how self-awareness develops. The researchers applied a red dot to an infant's nose and then held the child up to a mirror. Children who recognize themselves in the mirror would reach for their own noses rather than the reflection in the mirror, which indicated that they had at least some level of self-awareness. Lewis and Brooks then found that almost no children under 1 year of age would reach for their own nose rather than the reflection in the mirror. About 25% of the infants between 15 and 18 months reached for their own noses, while about 70% of those between 21 and 24 months did so. It is important to note that the Lewis and Brooks Gunn study only indicates an infant's visual self-awareness. Children might actually possess other forms of self-awareness even at this early point in life. For example, researchers suggested that expressing emotions involves self-awareness as well as an ability to think about oneself in relation to other people. Next point is self-awareness development. Researchers have proposed that an area of the brain known as the anterior cingulate cortex, located in the frontal lobe region, plays an important role in developing self-awareness. Studies have also used brain imaging to show that this region becomes activated in adults who are self-aware. The Lewis and Brooks Gun experiment suggests that self-awareness begins to emerge in children around the age of 18 months, an age that coincides with the rapid growth of spindle cells in the anterior cingulate cortex. However, one study found that a patient retained self-awareness even with extensive damage to areas of the brain, including the insula and the anterior cingulate cortex. This suggests that these areas of the brain are not required for most aspects of self-awareness, and that awareness may still arise from interactions distributed among brain networks. Levels of self-awareness. So how exactly do children become aware of themselves as separate beings? Researchers suggest that children progress through a series of levels of self-awareness between birth and approximately age 4 to 5. Self-awareness is observed by how children respond to their own reflection in a mirror. Next point is types of self-awareness. Psychologists often break self-awareness down into two different types, either public or private. Public self-awareness. This type emerges when people are aware of how they appear to others. Public self-awareness often emerges in situations when people are at the center of attention, such as when giving a presentation or talking to a group of friends. This type of self-awareness often compels people to adhere to social norms. When we are aware that we are being watched and evaluated, we often try to behave in ways that are socially acceptable and desirable. Public self-awareness can also lead to evaluation anxiety, in which people become distressed, anxious, or worried about how they are perceived by others. Private self-awareness. This type happens when people become aware of some aspects of themselves, but only in a private way. For example, seeing your face in the mirror is a type of private self-awareness. Feeling your stomach lurch when you realize you forgot to study for an important test, or feeling your heart flutter when you see someone you are attracted to, are also examples of private self-awareness. Next point is self-consciousness. Sometimes people can become overly self-aware and peer into what is known as self-consciousness. Have you ever felt like everyone was watching you, judging your actions, and waiting to see what you will do next? This heightened state of self-awareness can leave you feeling awkward and nervous in some instances. In a lot of cases, these feelings of consciousness are only temporary and arise in situations when we are in the spotlight. For some people, however, excessive self-consciousness can reflect a chronic condition such as social anxiety disorder. People who are privately self-conscious have a higher level of private self-awareness, which can be both a good and bad thing. These people tend to be more aware of their feelings and beliefs and are therefore more likely to stick their personal values. However, they are also more likely to suffer from negative health consequences such as increased stress and anxiety. People who are publicly self-conscious have a higher level of public self-awareness. They tend to think more about how other people view them and are often concerned that other people might be judging them based on their looks or their actions. As a result, these individuals tend to stick to group norms and try to avoid situations in which they might look bad or feel embarrassed. That is why self-awareness plays a critical role in how we understand ourselves and how we relate to others and the world. Being self-aware allows you to evaluate yourself in relation to others. For people who have an extremely high sense of self-awareness, excessive self-consciousness can result if you feel that you are struggling with a self-consciousness that is having a negative influence on your life. Discuss your symptoms with your doctor to learn more about what you can do to cope with these feelings. Key areas for self-awareness. Personality. We don't normally change our personalities, values and needs based on what we learn about ourselves. But an understanding of our personalities can help us find situations in which we will thrive and help us avoid situations in which we will experience too much stress. For instance, if you are highly introverted, you should either learn skills to cope with the demands of a sales position that requires extrovert type behavior patterns, or you should find a position that is more compatible with your personality. Values. It's important that we each know and focus on our personal values. During the workday, so many problems and opportunities arise that are lists of things to do can also exceed the time we have to do there. When we focus on our values, we are more likely to accomplish what we consider most important. Habits. Our habits are the behaviors that we repeat routinely and often automatically. Although we would like to possess the habits that help us interact effectively with and manage others, we can probably all identify at least one of our habits that decreases our effectiveness. Needs. One of the advantages of knowing which needs exert the strongest influence on our own behaviors is the ability to understand how they affect our interpersonal relationships. Emotions. Emotional self-awareness has become a hot topic of discussion recently because it's one of the 5 Assets of emotional intelligence. Understanding your own feelings, what causes them, and how they impact your thoughts and actions is emotional self-awareness. Be grateful and recognize your worth. Focus on what you already have. Think about how others benefit from what you do. If you improve yourself, those benefits will increase. Your personal development is for others as well as for you. Give up comparing yourself to others. You are unique with your own special power, talent, and gifts. There is no one else in the world just like you. Self-awareness tips for personal development. Get over your fear of failure. Whatever your desire or need is, there is a market for it and people are waiting for you. Who do you admire most? If you are struggling to notice where your seeds of potential need to be sown, just look around you for people you admire and respect. If you admire someone who is compassionate or incredibly kind, for instance, it is likely that you see something in them that is also in you. Admit your imperfections, focus on your strengths, and manage your weaknesses. You are worthy of success and happiness. Now let's watch a video session and be aware what I have explained here. I hope that it will be more clear for your awareness. Let's enjoy it.
So that is something that we need to develop. We're going to talk about that later on. Is most of us are really following our subconscious mind, and we do that without even realizing. So once you identify all those thoughts and emotions, you need to connect those emotions to reality. Are they true? And that's why it's important when you are in the journey of self-awareness is to basically try to have a mentor along the way with you. Then you can share with them or with him or with her your goals, your basically thoughts, emotions, and so on. Okay, so this is the definition. So let's move a little bit more into self-awareness test. I want to, maybe I can send you, or I can send Kevin a very nice, free actually, self-awareness test site, where there are 20 questions, you need to answer them, and obviously that will put you in the mood to start basically being aware of yourself and so on. Here are some questions. Some questions to basically test yourself to see, are you self-aware or not? Do you know your strengths? How about your weaknesses? Most of us know our strengths. Do you know your weaknesses? That's something very important. Are you in control of your distractions, or do the distractions control you? That is, again, something critically important. If you are sitting in the office, for example, I had my last job was the organization I was working on. I was basically working as a consultant. So I'm getting phone calls. So I try to basically collect 3 or 4 or 5 phone calls together, and then I can go back and respond to them. So I control my distractions rather than every time you get a phone call, you have to answer, and so many of them. Another thing that is very important and relates to self-control is, do you know when you are on autopilot? Let me explain. Autopilot means you are actually following your subconscious. It's not a bad thing, but you need to be aware of what is going on. That is so critical and needs to be, of course, monitored and so on. The second, number 4, are you aware of your emotions? Are emotions controlling you, or are you controlling your emotions? What do you do with your emotions? How do you express your emotions? This is very important. When you are angry, how do you do that? Do you express it verbally or physically? You need to start monitoring yourself and being aware of all those things that impact on our behavior. What motivates you? As a project manager, for example, or leaders, your job is to motivate others. But who motivates you? Maybe you are self-motivated. Maybe you motivate yourself. What motivates you from inside? What makes you feel great? You need to monitor those things. What pulls you down? Maybe you need to start monitoring. When that topic comes up, I feel terrible. When I meet that person, I feel great. When I do it, when you start, and this is the exercise I'm going to give you at the end of the presentation. So you really need to start monitoring yourself. What wears you down? You need to start being conscious of what are the things that impact on you. Number 9, do you have difficulty empathizing? Empathy is something that is missing from homes and offices. Empathy is basically putting yourself in other people's shoes. Something that is missing in the office and at home. So something that you need to think about and practice, of course. The last one, what are your core values? The second question is, are you living your core values? I know a friend of mine, he stresses to me so many times how important the family for him, how important his kids for him, and so on. But guess what? He's working 18 hours a day. He comes home just to sleep. Is he living his values? That's something else. So those are just few questions to start you thinking about, are you aware of your self? Are you self-aware? So here's the first poll. Based on the definitions and the self-awareness test discussed, are you truly self-aware? So please just write down in the chat box. We didn't have time to have a separate polls. I didn't really send it. It's my mistake. So basically, write yes or no. Based on what we discussed. Okay, a bit yes and a bit no. Okay, that's good. Anybody else? We need to have some interactive discussion going back and forth. It's very simple. Just take a guess. Okay, let us see another one, just another guess. What do you think the person? There are basically two types of people. Some people think they are actually fully or self-aware, and some people think that they are actually self-aware. So some people think that they are self-aware and the rest is truly self-aware. So what percentage would you think that people think they are self-aware? So I'm looking for what percentage of the population of the people that think they are truly self-aware. Anybody? I see some answers here. Basically, 70% of people think that they are basically self-aware, and also some comments regarding that, and the actual number of true people self-aware is much less. Let me give you
excuse me, Sammy, it's
Yes.
Kevin here. In the some people are entering in the questions window, not the chat window.
Oh,
Their answers are showing in the questions window, so we had a few people answer 25% as well.
oh, okay. Thank you. I'm sorry I did not see that. Okay, thanks very much, folks. That's much appreciated. Okay, according to research, 95% of the people, of the population, this research was done 7 years ago by Tasha, I can't remember, Enrich or something like that. She basically discovered that 95% of the people think that they are self-aware. And when she dug deeper in the rest of her research, she found that actual true people are 10 to 15%. So you're close. Now I want you to think about it. 95% of the people say, yes, we are self-aware, but the true number is 15. So somewhere 80% of us are lying to ourselves about ourselves. And I think that is pretty scary, folks. So we need to spend some time trying to rediscover ourselves. That's extremely important. So now I need you to talk to me. You can basically answer question here or chat box. Why 10 to 15% of us are self-aware? Only 10 to 15%. Any ideas? Arrogance, okay. The chat box is in, actually it is in the same panel as your question box. But that's fine. You can answer it in the question. No problem. Here. Deluded, yes, that's true. Over optimistic, that's very true too. That's very true. So here are the 4 main reasons people don't really know themselves, or they are not self-aware. I'm going to use that term. The first reason, it is hard to do. It is hard to do. Basically, it takes courage to start questioning yourself and questioning your behavior. It takes courage to hear the negative views about you, or asking people, tell me more about myself or my behavior. Sure. Some people don't want to basically know the ugly part of their self. What are their fears, the issues, the worries, and so on. That's number 1. Blind spots. Most of us have blind spots. Blind spots is the areas where other people know about us and we don't know about ourselves. We're going to cover that in detail under Johari window, so we're gonna leave that at that part. Again, as we said before, many of us are running, I would say 80% of the time. I did quite a bit of research in that area, an autopilot. Most of what you do in daily basis is focused on subconscious. Our subconscious is in control, and all of a sudden we're acting. I remember one day, I usually woke up at 6 o'clock. I am in the office by 7:30 or so, and I arrived in the office, and honestly, I did not remember anything. Again, I was on autopilot. Again, the autopilot is there to protect us as well, so it's not a bad thing, but we need to, of course, make sure that we are aware of what we are doing rather than doing it automatically. So that is very bad, and that's why we need to be in control of our behaviors. The last one, of course, we like to think positive things about ourselves. This is sort of feel good kind of effect. You are much happier when you think positive about yourself and so on. So most people focus on that part and they start ignoring the bad part. So that is basically what happened. So let's move on to self-awareness and emotional and social intelligence. Let me explain what emotion and social intelligence is first. Emotional and social intelligence is basically your ability to understand and manage your emotions the emotion of others, and of course, knowing what you are feeling at the moment. By the way, emotional and social intelligence, if you can, take some course in that, because it is really a key part of life success. And the foundation of emotional and social intelligence goes back to self-awareness, as you can see. So here is the definition from Daniel Kuhlman. He is a guru of emotional and social intelligence. I strongly recommend buying a book about that. There is actually social and emotional intelligence for project managers. Excellent book. So here is what basically Coleman said. Self-awareness is the ability to accurately perceive one's skill, knowledge, values, and responsibility. Think about that. Do you know your skills, your knowledge, your values, your responsibilities, and so on? This is what self-awareness is all about. Understanding why one thinks the way he thinks and why he acts the way he acts. This is self-awareness. And it is the center of self-management. You need to be self-aware in order to control yourself. Management means control. So self-awareness is the basis of self-management, is the basis of social awareness. You need to be aware of yourself and aware of the people around you. And of course, as you can see, all this leads to relationship management. Of course, our topic here is not emotional and social intelligence, but I strongly recommend that you find a course because it will change your life. I have actually a course, that one-day course on emotional intelligence, another course on social intelligence, and people tell me that they use it immediately. And that's the beauty of any course, if you can put it on, apply it to your life immediately. Let's move on. So now my question to you is, what is the goal of self-awareness? Why are we basically so hyped about self-awareness, and we say it is so important, it will help us, and this and that? Why it is so important? Any suggestions? Excellent. Increased success for sure. And by the way, success in personal and business life. Excellent. Help others grow and help yourself grow. Very truly. That's very good. Collaborate better with others for sure. And that will show greatly in when we talk about Johari window. Excellent. So basically, the answer is one, self-acceptance. And that is the basis, of course, for self-respect. And of course, self-improvement and growth. Self-improvement and growth. So we need to work with self-awareness, because it will lead us to accepting ourselves, because you need to accept yourself first before you start the improvement. And I'm gonna basically cover that in 15 minutes or so. So let's move on. So lack of self-awareness has a major impact on your growth potential. So in order for you to grow, you need to start focusing on getting to know yourself and to be honest about it. That's very important. And the only way that will keep you honest is having somebody working with you. So please remember that. Okay, self-awareness is important, of course, and here are some benefits. But let me give you a general benefit first. Self-awareness is basically the underlying foundation for all the skills that you need as a leader. And here is basically some. It is the greatest gift you can give to yourself. And guess what? It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't cost any money. It just needs to be a conscious effort. It's a conscious, focused effort focused on getting to know yourself better. And another gift that I teach communication, another gift that you can give to others is listening. Listening is a great gift that you can give to others. So listen well, this is a gift to others. Look after yourself and start getting to know yourself. That will be giving a gift to yourself. Once you get self-awareness, right away your self-esteem will improve, your self-acceptance and self-respect will go sky high. And of course, you need to respect yourself before you accept other or expect others to respect you. And of course, as we said at least 3 or 4 times, better self-control. Better self-control. You have more productivity and effective negotiation, good decision making, more effective leader, and all this adds to a better relationship with your stakeholders, with your family, with your boss, with your team, and so on. Let's now move on to Johari window model. It's an excellent tool to enhance your self-awareness. Let me just basically introduce it to you first. Johari window model actually is a technique or a model that helps you understand yourself in relation to your team and in relation to others. Okay? So, Johari window basically model was two psychologists from US, Joseph Luft and Ingman, in 1955. They did quite a bit of research about dynamics in teams, and they came up with this window with 4 panes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So let us understand those panes first, and as I am explaining each pane, I want you to start thinking about yourself. Okay? And apply what I am talking about in your case. So let's start with basically pane number 1, open or free area. This is the area where you know about yourself and other people know about you as well. So let me give you an example to make it clear. For example, anything that you will include in your resume. Your knowledge, your experience, your working history, your degrees, anything that you know yourself and other people know about you. That is area number 1. Now, area number 2. Basically, this is the area where other people know about me that I don't know myself. Let me give you an example. I have a friend of mine that every time he talks, he covers his mouth. He didn't know that. And he has been doing this for years. When I brought to attention, he said, "Do I do that?" Another person, for example, we went to a camp, and I end up basically staying in a group room or whatever, and the guy next to me snored like you wouldn't believe. It was music all night. I was not able to sleep. Next morning I said, "Wow, thank you for the music." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You snore." He said, "No, I don't." What do you mean? Did you ever ask your wife? Oh, he said, "My wife says that I snore, but I don't." I said, "If your wife says you snore, 3 people who were with you in the room says you snore, you must be snore." Anyway, so this is the area that people know about you, but you don't know yourself. Actually, I have another example that relates to myself. I used to go to China to teach in China, and this is 10 years ago now. And one course, the people wrote that Dr. Sami repeat the important message more than twice, and there was 30 people, and most of them repeat the same thing, and it was an eye-opener for me. I honestly did not know that I do that. So in order to basically get to know the blind area, you need to start asking people, inviting people to tell you the truth. Very important to reduce that blind and get to know yourself. Get people to share with you what they know about you. That's quite important. Okay, number 3, hidden area. A hidden area is basically this, I call it protected area. This is the area for all of us. Lots of things that are protected that maybe don't.
I hope with the help of this video session, you really aware about how to use self-awareness in our life. Finally, for this session, that's all. Thank you.